"This old thing?" Mr. Blackwood sneered, his lips curling as he dangled a delicate silver locket between his thick fingers. "It's tarnished, see? And this little music box? The paint is chipped. You think this is treasure?" Arthur Wells stood patiently on the other side of the polished wooden counter. His hands, gnarled by age and hard work, rested lightly on its surface. He was a man of few words, his face etched with the quiet sorrow of a recent widower and the deeper lines of a life lived with honor. "They belong to my wife, Martha," Arthur said, his voice soft but clear. "The locket was her mother's, the music box, she loved its tune." Blackwood let out a short, unpleasant laugh. "Sentimental value. That doesn't put money in my pocket, old man. Or yours, I suppose, seeing as you're here." He eyed Arthur's worn but clean coat, his faded trousers. He made a quick, unkind judgment. "Look, I run a business, not a charity. I'll give you $50 for the lot. That's for the locket, the music box, and that stack of old linens you brought in." Arthur's heart sank a little. $50. It felt like a slap. These were not just items. They were whispers of Martha, fragments of their life together. But he needed the money. The hospital bills from Martha's last days were piling up, and his small pension barely covered his own simple needs. If you believe our elders deserve honesty and respect, type respect in the comments. He had come to Blackwood's Antiques hoping for fairness. The shop looked reputable from the outside, with its gleaming windows and tasteful displays. He didn't expect a fortune, just a fair exchange. "Mr. Blackwood," Arthur began, choosing his words carefully. "I know they are old, but the locket is real silver, I believe, and the music box, it's quite unique. I was hoping for a bit more." He swallowed, the words tasting like dust. "I need to cover some expenses." "Expenses? Everyone has expenses," Blackwood dismissed with a wave of his hand. He leaned forward, his eyes like little chips of ice. "50. Take it or leave it. There are other desperate people who'll be glad of the offer. Don't waste my time." Desperate. The word stung Arthur. He was not desperate, not in the way Blackwood implied. He was resourceful. He was trying to manage. He had served his country for 30 years, always doing his duty, never asking for much. Now, in his quiet retirement, facing loss, he was met with such callousness. He looked at the locket, remembering how it lay against Martha's warm skin. He remembered her humming to the music box's tiny, tinkling melody. These were not junk. I think I will leave it then," Arthur said, his voice still quiet, but a new firmness was there. He reached for the items. Blackwood scoffed. "Suit yourself, you'll be back." They always come back when reality hits. He turned away, already dismissing Arthur, already looking for his next customer, his next chance to make a profit, no matter how small or mean. Arthur carefully gathered Martha's treasures. His hands trembled slightly, not from weakness, but from a deep, rising anger at the unfairness. He felt the familiar ache of grief, now mixed with a sharp sense of insult. He walked out of the shop, the little bell above the door tinkling mockingly behind him. Outside, the city air felt cooler. He sat on a nearby park bench, the small bag with Martha's things resting on his lap. What was he to do? The bills wouldn't pay themselves. He felt a weariness seep into his bones. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the disrespect, the casual cruelty of it. He closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of Martha's smile. She would have told him to stand tall. She always believed in doing the right thing, and in fighting for it, in her own gentle way. Then he remembered. In his worn leather wallet, amidst old photographs and receipts, was a small, creased business card. It belonged to a young woman named Sarah Evans. Years ago, Arthur had found her stranded on a lonely country road with a flat tire late at night. He had changed it for her, refusing any payment, just glad to help. She was a young reporter back then, just starting out. She had pressed her card into his hand. "If you ever need anything, anything at all, Mr. Wells," she had said with sincere gratitude, "please call me." He had never thought he would use it. He wasn't one to ask for help, but this felt different. This wasn't just about him, it was about the way people like Blackwood preyed on vulnerability. With determined fingers, Arthur pulled out his old, simple mobile phone. He dialed the number on the card. It rang 3 times. Sarah Evans. A professional, bright voice answered. "Miss Evans," Arthur said, his voice a little shaky now that he was actually doing it. "This is Arthur Wells. You may not remember me. I helped you with a flat tire a few years back." There was a pause then. "Mr. Wells, of course I remember you. You were so kind. How are you? Is everything all right?" There was genuine warmth in her voice. Arthur took a breath. "Well, not entirely, Miss Evans. I find myself in a bit of a situation with an antique dealer. He's not been very fair." Calmly, factually, he explained what had just happened at Blackwood's Antiques, the dismissive offer, the insulting words, the precious items of his late wife. As Sarah listened, her friendly tone sharpened with a professional edge. "He offered you $50 for those items, knowing your circumstances?" she asked, a note of disbelief in her voice. "Mr. Wells, where are you right now?" "I'm on a bench just outside his shop," Arthur replied. "Stay right there," Sarah said, her voice suddenly full of energy and purpose. "Don't go anywhere. Don't talk to him again. I'm with my news crew. We're not far from that area. We'll be there in less than 10 minutes. This sounds like something our viewers need to know about." Less than 10 minutes. Arthur ended the call, a strange mix of apprehension and hope fluttering in his chest. He had set something in motion. He just hoped it was the right thing. He clutched the bag a little tighter. He was a quiet man, but he had seen injustice before in his life, and he knew it should not be allowed to stand unchallenged. True to her word, it was barely 9 minutes later when a white van with the local news channel's logo emblazoned on its side pulled up sharply to the curb. The side door slid open, and Sarah Evans emerged, microphone in hand, looking every bit the confident journalist. A cameraman followed, hoisting his equipment onto his shoulder. Sarah spotted Arthur on the bench and gave him a reassuring nod. Then, she turned her attention to Blackwood's Antiques. "All right, Mark," she said to her cameraman, "let's go see Mr. Blackwood." They walked towards the shop, Arthur rising slowly from the bench to follow at a slight distance. The bell above Blackwood's door jingled as Sarah entered, the camera right behind her. Blackwood was haggling with another elderly woman over a dusty vase. He looked up, annoyed by the intrusion. "Can I help you?" he asked, his eyes narrowing at the camera. "We don't allow filming in here without prior." "Mr. Silas Blackwood," Sarah interrupted, her voice polite but firm. "I'm Sarah Evans from Channel 6 News. We're doing a story on fair trade practices with antiques, particularly concerning items of sentimental value sold by seniors. We received a tip about your shop." Blackwood's face began to change. The smug confidence flickered. He glanced past Sarah, saw Arthur standing near the doorway, and his expression soured completely. "This is an outrage. Are you with him?" he blustered, pointing a thick finger towards Arthur. "He's just a disgruntled seller. He didn't like my offer." "An offer of $50 for a silver locket with provenance, a collectible music box, and other family heirlooms," Sarah pressed, stepping further into the shop. The camera zoomed in on Blackwood's increasingly flustered face. "Mr. Wells here is a widowed veteran, trying to cover his late wife's medical expenses. I make fair offers based on condition and market value," Blackwood stammered, his voice losing its earlier arrogance. "Those items were not in good shape. That locket was tarnished." "Tarnished silver can be polished, Mr. Blackwood," Sarah stated calmly. "And a quick search on our part suggests that particular music box model, even in chipped condition, is quite sought after by collectors. We even consulted with a certified appraiser via video call on our way here. They estimated the locket and music box alone could be worth upwards of $500, perhaps more to the right buyer." Blackwood's jaw dropped. His face went pale. $500. He had tried to swindle Arthur out of hundreds, and now it was all being caught on camera. The other elderly customer in the shop was watching with wide, knowing eyes. She slowly picked up her vase and started to back away. Now, perhaps I was a bit hasty," Blackwood said, trying to smile, but it looked more like a grimace. "I'm always willing to reconsider, if Mr. Wells wants to discuss it further." "I think the time for private discussion is over," Sarah said, her eyes holding his. "The question now, Mr. Blackwood, is what are you going to do to make this right here, right now, for Mr. Wells and for our viewers who are watching?" The bright camera light seemed to pin Blackwood against his own counter. amidst the very antiques he used to build his dishonest business. He looked like a trapped animal. He knew he was caught. The local news was a powerful force in their small city. This story could ruin him. He swallowed hard. "All right," he mumbled, defeated. "All right, I will offer Mr. Wells the fair market value, $500. For the locket and the music box, he avoided looking at Arthur, his gaze fixed on Sarah and the unblinking eye of the camera. Sarah looked at Arthur. Arthur simply nodded. It wasn't about getting the absolute top dollar anymore. It was about the principle. Blackwood reluctantly counted out the money from his till, his hands shaking. He pushed it across the counter to Arthur. "And an apology, Mr. Blackwood," Sarah prompted, "for your earlier treatment of a respected veteran." Blackwood's face flushed a dark red. He turned to Arthur. "I apologize, Mr. Wells," he said, the words forced out, "for the misunderstanding." Arthur accepted the money and the grudging apology with quiet dignity. "Thank you," he said softly. The news story aired that evening. It showed Blackwood's arrogance, then his pathetic backtracking. It highlighted Arthur's quiet strength and Sarah Evans' determined journalism. The station was flooded with calls. Other people came forward with their own stories of being cheated by Blackwood. His shop faced an immediate downturn in business, and soon, a formal investigation by trade standards. Arthur was able to pay off Martha's medical bills. He kept the old linens, deciding they were too precious to sell after all. He found a special place for them, a reminder of Martha's presence. The story of the swindled veteran and the quick-acting news crew became something of a local legend. It reminded people that even in a world that sometimes felt cold and unfair, a single voice, a single phone call, could bring about swift justice. Arthur Wells remained a quiet man. He didn't seek the spotlight, but he knew he had done right by Martha's memory and perhaps had helped protect others from falling victim to the same kind of greed. It just goes to show, you should never judge a book by its cover, and you should always treat everyone with respect. You never know the depth of their character or the connections they might have. Justice can come from unexpected places. If you believe that our veterans and elderly citizens deserve our utmost respect and fair treatment, please type "honor" in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where the right thing wins in the end. Always remember, even the quietest truth can make a powerful sound.